All right, friends, let's look at how this boils down to actually coding uh, the problem here, which is permutations without the repetitions. So as we can see at every point, right, we are not allowed to repeat, and the choices that we have are decreasing. So let's say the first one up we have is ABC, and then the next one is ACB, and the next one that we have is in our subset is BAC, and the next one is BCA, and then the next one we have is CAP, and then the next one is CBA. So if you look at this closely, there is a pattern that follows here, right? So we started with ABC, and then if we flip the pairs, if we flip the last pairs, then we get a new permutation, right? And then for when we have done flipping these, if we start flipping the pair from the beginning, right? When we flip A and B to BA, and then we get a new pair, and then we go back to flipping the last one again, right? So if we flip CA, AC, then we get BCA. The same thing, then we go back, and then if we flip A with C, which flip in this is nothing but swapping, right? So if I swap A and C, right here, if you look at this, if I swapped A and C, and then I get CBA, right? And this is what this permutation will come up with, and then if we swap A and B, the last one out of this, then we get CAB, right? So we have an intuition here that if we swap pairs in our iteration, then we eventually get a new unique sort of subset, right? So with that intuition, let's look at how our for loop is going to look like. So uh, remember, in the case of permutations with repetitions, we always were starting with index 0, right? Because we were allowed to choose all the elements available in the set, which were n. We're here as we proceed to every level, right? As we proceed to every level, the choices reduces, right? So the choices gradually reduce by one since we have already chosen one. So our for loop would probably look like something like this. So for int I equals, now we have to be careful about how I is going to proceed at every level, right? So let's call each of these as offsets, right? So I have offset here, I have offset 0, I have offset 1, and I have offset 2, right? So for the leftmost branch, right? For the leftmost branch, if I look at here, so I'm always choosing from offset 0, right? So A and then sorry, not from offset 0. I mean, I'm always choosing for the current offset, right? And the offset increases, right? So it was 0, and then it became 1, and then it became 2, right? And the same thing, when I'm done choosing the offsets, the size k, then I declare, okay, I have I have a subset of size 3, and I need to store that, right? So basically, and then the same thing happens here. So this one starts with the offset 2, and we pick that, and then, but the thing is, then we have to do the trick of swapping so that we can get the other A and C out of it. You'll get the intuition once we start looking at the for loop here, right? So basically, what we want here is we want a start offset, right? So let's call this an offset, right? So we start from an offset, and then uh, how far we can go is the same thing. So we can start from an offset, and we can go till the size of the string, right? Which is input string s dot size, right? We can choose that many uh, size, and then it's incrementing every time, right? I is incrementing. So that is our for loop. Now, the trick is here is how do we swap, right? To begin with, uh, we we swap the if we swap the current offset which is with itself, then it doesn't make any difference. But then if we swap the current offset with the uh, new integer, right? So with the new incremented I, then it makes sense. So if you look at these three offsets, right? So zeroth offset here, and then 1th offset, and then 2nd offset, right? So if I swap C with C, it doesn't make any difference, right? But then in my second iteration, if I well, the second iteration will end here because C is already at the end. So if I is incremented, then I'm ending the for loop. But then I go back to my iteration where I was 1, right? So if I was 1, the offset was 1, right? For this offset, for this particular offset, if I swap this offset with the incremented I, so I would be now 2, right? So if I swap the offset 1 with the incremented I, which would give me C and B, right? So if we swap, right? So let's say I have a swap function, and that swaps what is currently at the offset, right? Let's say I have whatever is currently at my offset, and uh, what is currently the value at I, right? If I swap them, then I get a new permutation, right? So basically, then I can call my permutation function, and I can tell him the same thing, the input, the size of the subset, and then I have the same partial, right? I'm building up partial, okay? So building up partial, ERTI partial plus, okay? And so I'm building up partial, and I am picking up what is currently the value of I, okay? So I'm building up that, and then I pass in the result as well, which is going to store, right? And then I need to make sure that I restore the state, because in the next swap, when I come back, then I need to swap A with B, right? So basically, I need to swap back the offset, right? I need to swap back the offset with S of I, okay? So I, and then and basically the same thing for the stopping condition. So partial if partial of size is equal to k, which is my size of my subset, then uh, I store partial and I return, right? Store partial and return. Okay. Uh, so let's look at how this algorithm unfolds for another 2 minutes. So let's do it really quick. So to begin with, my offset would be 0, right? So I start with a 0 offset, and I say that swap the, the offset 0 with I will be 0, right? So swapping A with A doesn't give any change. And then I say, okay, add to partial, what is the current value of I? So I is 0. So partial would be added an A, right? The same, and then, oh, sorry, I forgot a very important thing here. And I need to pass in what is the current offset, right? So this is K, and then, well, 1 second. Let me just I think I'll probably point it out in the next video. For now, let me just pause this here. Well, I decided to just go ahead anyways. So I'm going to cross this out. So I'm missing an important condition here. So basically, uh, what I would need to pass is the S, which is the input string, and the size, subset size, and I need to pass in my buildup, uh, partial buildup, and I need to pass in what would be my current offset, right? So the current offset would be incremented by one, right? Which would be offset plus one, right? So that would be offset plus one, and then the result, right? So uh, let's look at this in the next video, how it unfolds and how it looks in actual program.